Hey folks, we are back live coming at you from the Circuit of the Americas with the 2018 NASA Championships presented by
Toyo
Toyo Tires.
Tires. None other than Toyo Tires been with us for a long time.
Long as I can remember.
Yeah. Great to have those guys. Some excellent contingency prizes.
And this
In
is
fact,
the big one.
this is the big one. Yeah,
Six-figure payout.
6 figures at a.
A first in club racing.
That is amazing.
The mad scientist idea, Mark Sanzenbacher, senior manager for motorsports at Toyo Tires, and Jeremy Crozet, our own vice president, came up with this idea. They wanted to do something big, and by God, they did it. So here we are. We had a field of 83 Miatas registered for this weekend, split into two groups for qualifying, and then there'll be one group for the big show. And then anybody that didn't make the big show, they'll have a consolation race later on Sunday. So we've already had one qualifying session in the books.
And our top time from that session was 251.116. So we're talking about it. You know, our weather conditions out here are rapidly changing. When we got here first thing this morning, it was raining. When the Miatas went out on track for their first couple of laps, it was still drizzling, but then it stopped. And we started to see a dry line develop by the end of the session. And that allowed Greg Porter to put in a 251.116, which is
Awesome.
an admirable time in the wet.
Awesome.
Then, of course, at the very end of the session, it started pouring rain again. So we're assuming that we're starting with a fully wet track here. We'll see how the conditions progress. But looking in our feed right now, it looks as though it might have stopped raining there, John.
Maybe.
So the rain is sporadic and, well, hard to forecast, to say the least.
Yeah, we're right on the edge of, I believe, what is a tropical storm that's been roiling around the Gulf of Mexico. And we are seeing that coming through the northern part of Mexico and then over in West Texas there, mostly staying to the west of us. But there's a big, nasty-looking tail of the dragon that may be coming over here to Austin. It's right about Interstate 10 right now, so we'll be watching that as the day goes on.
You know, these weather guys think they're fancy with their hourly forecast. I think we could really use a by-the-minute forecast here since we've had it start and stop raining now several times in the past 60 minutes.
All right, well, they are starting their first time lap right now. They've gone across the stripe and turned the machine on. So the first one out in this group is Jamie Close, honoring his brother George Close Jr., who did pass away this summer. George, one of our instructors and great friends for many years. So his brother Jamie is here. Also, his father George is also here, and their other brother was flying in. I believe that's Andrew. They were flying in to watch the race today and see how Jamie does in memory of his brother George.
So, John, we had 44 cars in our previous qualifying session. So if there's 83 total registered, I guess we're looking for about 39 here. We've got 32 on track so far, but they are still coming out of the pit lane here, emerging out. There we go, 33. And folks, if you're not following along with our live timing, you can go to racehero.io. You can find our 2018 NASA Championships presented by Toyo Tires. You can follow right along with the live timing. You can see results from yesterday and the day before. It's a pretty excellent resource if you want to follow along with the action. Also, of course, you're probably watching us right now on livestream.com, so I encourage you to sign up for an account. That'll get you into the comment section over on the right. You can chat us up on there, let us know what you think of our broadcast, ask questions, all kinds of fun stuff like that. So hello to all of our fans out there. We appreciate you guys watching. Whether you're at home or at work, or hope you're not at work on a Saturday morning, but if you're at work watching us, even more thanks. NASAChampionships.com.
We're technically at work.
Well, I mean, we're at work, but we'd be watching this whether we'd be watching whether we were at work or not. So, folks, livestream.com and racehero.io. Also, this all stems from NASAChampionships.com. Definitely check out NASAChampionships.com. Pretty much all of the info is there, all except the race results for races that haven't happened yet. I mean, the NASAChampionships.com is more complete this year than it ever has been before. We've got more digital info for you than we've ever been able to provide. So if you had any question about the event out here, Or if you're a participant who's here at the event watching along, if you have a question, you're welcome to go on to nasachampionships.com, and I bet you'll find the answer.
All right, folks, we are waiting for our drivers to complete their first full lap. Should happen soon. Coming around the back side of the course right now. Should be visible on the front straight pretty quick.
And look at this, our times are coming
in down to the stripe right now. There we go.
Yeah,
okay,
they're coming
Jamie
in
close.
over 3 minutes here.
Over 3 minutes. So that's
definitely
a slow
wet.
one. They're figuring it out.
It is definitely soggy out there. Well, this is similar to what we saw in the last session. Everybody turned a lap that was just over 3 minutes for that first lap. And then as the course started to dry out, they started to come down a little more and a little more. And by the end of the session, we did see a 2:51, which is only 9 seconds off of the absolute fast time for the weekend, which is a 2:42.3.
It's remarkable.
So yeah, that is some excellent wet weather driving. And we mentioned before, these guys are coming from all over the U.S., from all different corners of the nation.
Yep.
With all kinds of different experience levels when it comes to adverse conditions. Some of these guys are total shoes when it comes to rain and snow even. Some people are used to just running in the dry.
See in that shot there is a bit of a dry line that's still visible. You can see there's a definite change in the color of the pavement. And if you see a car get off of that dry line, you can see a rooster tail coming up off the tires, which means they are in the wet. I don't think the paint's going to dry out for quite a while. So any of those painted, the colored sections you'll see, those are going to be super slippery, and you don't want to get on those unless you're intentionally trying to turn the car, because that will cause a lack of mechanical grip, a distinctive lack. It's quite slippy, which is a real world, because I heard Bear Grylls say it once.
Well, Bear Grylls is outside of his nature show, worked for Webster's writing dictionary, so he's an authority on words.
Who knew?
I did.
All right, folks, we are here at the 2018 NASA National Championships presented by Toyo Tires. You are watching the second qualifying session for the Toyo Classic that will take place at 2:45 Central Time this afternoon. That will be for all the marbles and big bucks. The winner of that race stands to take home greater than $70,000. Pretty nice payday for one race. Well, a whole season of preparing and then getting here and all that. So
I mean, nice payout though. It's maybe the biggest payout in NASA history. That's
by far.
That is massive.
By far. 20 years ago when we first started doing this kind of stuff, and even the 2006, the first championships at Mid-Ohio, something like this would have never been conceivable. It would be inconceivable. Do not think that word means, but never mind. All right, we are still waiting for another lap to come around. So far, Jamie Close has the top time with just over 3 minutes and 4 seconds.
And there we go, 3 minutes.
He dropped it a little bit.
So
I dropped it 4 seconds. That's not a little bit.
In between these two sessions, I was talking to John here about what exactly these qualifying sessions mean, because we had a timed qualifying yesterday. We actually had 2 of them, and then we have a timed qualifying today. And the answer is that those qualifying sessions are setting the grid for this qualifying session. And for a qualifying race or an actual race, obviously your grid position means a lot. But matter of fact is, grid position is very important even for a qualifying race, because when you get that pole position, you get to go out on track with nobody in front of you.
Exactly.
And you can tell from this session and the previous session that our first car out of the hot pits set our fastest lap right off the bat. So that is definitely benefiting Jamie Close. We'll see how that works out for the rest of the session here.
Right. So far, no one's broken that 3-minute barrier. So we are looking at that top time of 2:51 and change from the last session. So we'll see if anyone can even get close. Not so far. So that's what we'll be watching for. As this session goes on, about 10 minutes in, scheduled for 30 minutes. Of course, that includes the out lap and the cool down lap. So probably about 25 minutes on the Race Hero display is what you'll see as we get to the end. Top time was Greg Porter. Local guy, 2:51.116 was his time. And we learned that he's actually driving a car that has won a national championship before. It's Hernan Palermo's old car that won up at VIR a few years ago.
It's got pedigree.
It's got pedigree and patina,
That's right.
which means it's dented a little bit.
You know, John, I saw a great T-shirt at the social last night. It said, "Old Hondas never die; they just get faster." And if you look at some of our Honda Challenge cars, I think that might be true.
All right, well, we are waiting to see if anyone can get shave 9 seconds off. So that'll be a challenge. Top time right now still belongs to Jamie Close. 3 minutes, .692. And where'd some of the Super Unlimited? I think it was yesterday turning a 2.07 or 2.06.
Yeah, Jim Davenport,
Right.
He turned a 2:07, and I believe that's our fastest time of the weekend overall so far. But yeah, it's interesting to think that he's a whole minute faster than these guys. Yeah, that is a lot in 3.5 miles. That's a lot of ground to make.
But if he was out on this moist track, I don't know.
Right. I mean, the car he's driving is a lot more dependent on downforce and things like that. So
Jamie Close just dropped a second and a half down to a 2:58.573. So he is so far doing some work, drying that track out. Shot down the front straight. You can see the dry line is definitely over there on the left side of your screen, driver's right. It looks a little more steady as they're coming into that uphill first corner. Definitely see a change in the pavement color and a dry, little drifto there. Spoke too soon, right?
We're seeing a lot of guys come in with a 3-minute flat times. Vinny Barada moved up into second place with a 3-minute .027.
Boy, and I don't know if people are intentionally moving over or if folks are just taking that inside line, but that's a little risky when it's slippery out in a qualifying session before the big show. You want to get a good time, but you also don't want to wad your car up and your buddy's car up, or even your frenemy's car up. Oh, now that, did you see that line?
Yeah, that was pretty far onto the paint there, John. But he did keep the.
Did he gain advantage?
Not just that, but speaking more on the traction of that surface, his loaded wheels, his driver's left wheels were still on the blacktop, so maybe he was hoping to just sort of float those inside wheels.
I haven't had a chat with the race directors this morning, but there was a very active discussion yesterday of whether it's a subjective or objective standard. So the subjective standard would be, is an advantage gained? And that's a heck of a debate. The objective standard is, did you cross over this line? Be it the line, the white line, the colored lines, anything like that. That's a very objective standard that can be proven on video, but then you get into the minutiae. Is it the whole tire? Is it part of the sidewall? Is it half a tire? Where does that start? So it's going to be really surgical here because of the big bucks on the line. I know the tech team is spooled up and ready to go, and they brought in experts from all around the country to really put these cars under the microscope. Cylinder heads has been a particular topic of concern, how they're machined and how they're prepared. So I know there's going to be some very intense inspections that go on. After the big race, the Toyo Classic at 2:45 Central this afternoon. We are at the Circuit of the Americas, just kind of to the southeast of Austin, or southwest of Austin, Texas. Of course, Austin home to some great barbecue, music, all kinds of fun stuff, and we have enjoyed a lot of that here at the Circuit of the Americas. Had Dale Watson and his Lone Stars out last night and some Texas barbecue. So we are getting the best of everything. Look in that shot right there. You can see Austin Bergstrom Airport is just not too far from the track, and you can see in that one shot we'll have airliners landing all day. And that may change, though, as the weather conditions change.
Look at this, John. Jamie Close coming in with a 2:56.373. And everybody now looking like they're coming down below that 3-minute mark, but not by quite that much. 2:56 now. As we see this course start to dry out a little bit more, because it appears to not be raining now, we're going to see them get closer and closer to that previous best time of 2:51.
I think that was Jamie Close.
That was a little sideways there.
Whoa, and then someone's off in the paint. Watch this first turn. Looks like it is people are testing their courage because they're trying to get the best possible run. Oh, but you carry too much speed and you're off in the weeds. Yep, way off in the weeds. I think I saw a little grass getting tore up over there. Have to give him a bill for the bag of grass seed. So that entry into the first turn it's very challenging. It's uphill, it's very tight, and if you don't get the sight lines right, particularly in the wet or if you're in a whole big gaggle of cars. Now look, he came across that line too. That's interesting. We don't have access to the control frequency, but I'd be interested to hear if they're calling that a cut for an advantage and they throw out that lap, or if they're allowing that shortcut through that one turn. Most of the folks, you can see right here, everybody's staying off the paint, but occasionally someone will just, turn the tiller to the right and go right over the turtles and right into that zone, that painted zone. So we'll see if we can perhaps track down a race director or two and get clarification on that by the time we get to the Toyo Classic. Charlie Williams has moved up a bit now. Let's give you our top 10. Jamie Close still out in front, 256.373. Charlie Williams pretty far back, 259.177. Danny Suter just behind, then Connor Kelleher, Michael Haddad, Christopher Schaefer, Vinny Barada, Eric Nemnich, Mike Travers, and Jesse Singer. Those are your top 10 in this second group, but significantly behind the fast folks from the other groups. So we don't know whether it's conditions or what's going on. That was a pretty significant rainstorm that we had come through for about 5 to 7 minutes or so at the close of the last session. Four laps complete so far. About 17 and a half minutes in. Again, scheduled for 30 minutes, so we probably have about another 8 minutes of green flag time left, if I had to guess. And sorry, folks, we are having a little bit of technical issue here with our feed. Might have had a groundhog out there chewing on some cables, something like that. That does happen. At Mid-Ohio, we had a groundhog chew through some, or what are they? Yeah, it was a groundhog.
Do they have groundhogs down here?
I bet they got just, armadillos.
Yeah, it had an armadillo chewing through the wires.
All right, well, looks like we, and again, if you overrun too much speed, you end up on
big
that
wide line
outside line. I don't know if that's intentional or just lack of brakes. So let's watch a couple of these cars coming into turn one. Now these guys all got it woed down. See, they take that inside apex, kind of a, I'd call it a mid, or no, it's actually a late apex. Interesting seeing the different lines selected. Yeah, it's a later apex, because otherwise they'd be already tucked in by the time they got in there. But look at the camber change that happens at different points on the track. We are in the Texas Hill Country, and the track was built to kind of follow the natural terrain out here. Beautiful facility. Absolutely pristine pavement on track. Very impressive. Built to Formula One standards. And Formula One does visit here, as well as all the international, the FIM, the MotoGP. Really great place to watch a race. As I understand, we may have IndyCar here next year.
That's right.
So come on down. Really great place to watch a race. Easy to get to at Austin. All kinds of great entertainment options around the Austin area. So come on down to Circuit of the Americas. And if you're local, come on out today. There's no charge for spectators. Come on in. Come see some great racing. And if you want to give racing a try, NASA has a lot of easy pathways. Go to NASA Pro Racing or drivenasa.com. Either one works. You'll be able to find ways to access programs in your local region. Start out with a hyperdrive, just a quick little taste of it. Go through our HPDE, high performance driving event education event. I could never get it straight. 20 years I've been doing this. I can never get it straight.
HPDE.
And then you can progress into time trial racing against the clock. Then competition racing. We even have rally programs. We have our U.S. drift program for the drifters out there. Sponsor a lot of local autocross programs. One Lap America. Of course, we have our other feature events. The Hyperfest takes place at Virginia International Raceway with the Cabetto family at the helm.
Shout out to Brian Eggert.
Yeah, Brian Eggert, our man
US Drift.
from US Drift. We also have the 25 Hours of Thunderhill. Takes place at the beautiful Thunderhill Raceway Park just north of Sacramento, California. 25-hour road race. Longest race of its kind in the United States. Groundbreaking race, draws top teams from around the country, but gives amateur folks like you and me a chance to get out there as well.
You know, John, I think this year is going to be the 15th running, too, isn't it?
My gosh. Time flies.
It sure does. You know,
I still
back
remember
in
the first one.
In the early 2000s when it used to be the 12-hour and then
It was the Timex
switched on to the
Timex 12 hours.
That's right.
Instead of the Rolex 24 hours.
It had to be sponsored by some kind of watch company.
Some kind of watch.
Timex is just fine.
The Swatch.
Yeah, the Swatch 6-hour.
I was going for a Pulp Fiction thing there. Young man, this watch is your birthright.
I don't think that was a Swatch, John.
Hey now. All right, folks, we are 22 minutes or so into our qualifying session. Again, this is the second session. For Spec Miata, these guys and gals are trying to qualify for the Toyo Classic, which will take place at 2:45 Central Time this afternoon.
And look at this, John. A couple of big moves out there. Jamie Close still leading the way.
Yeah.
With a 254.379 now.
David Henderson Jr. now.
Yeah, 254.744, so only 4/10 behind. Yeah.
They're getting up there to that. They're within spitting distance of that 251.
They're coming close. Let's see, in the previous session.
Everybody really sped up. Wow.
254.3.
Another one of our teen drivers, Ben Rail, up to P5 in this group with a 256.158. Nice job.
So, John, 254.3 is still back around 20th place in the last session.
Oh, boy.
They've got a ways to go here. You know, pretty remarkable consistency between these guys. I mean, all of the cars are running very similar times, and it just goes to show this is a very tight spec class, which means that the prep is all mandatory. You can only use the spec parts, and then what really comes down to is driver skill and just minute settings on the car.
Well,
Tire pressures,
it's a driver's
camber.
class for sure. It's not a builder's class.
Yep.
All right, about 23 minutes complete, 6 laps of qualifying complete. Scheduled for 30 minutes total on track. Looks like the last group got about 28 minutes total timed laps. So we may have another lap or two in this qualifying session before we go checker. I'm going to call it 2 laps. Another 2 laps, and then it's going to be the checker.
Let's see if we have somebody snipe the checker on the very last lap there.
Exactly. That's what happened last session, so
That
we'll see
was
if it
pretty
happens
good.
again here. Hey, Jamie Close down to 253 now. 885. Improving. There's Jamie right now going into turn 1. See him come right out of there, turn 1. Oh, but a big mistake there. I think that may have been Ryan Roberson, who went way off to the side. So
Well,
that
he had a great lap last lap.
he
He
threw- so
moved
he
his
just
way
threw
up
away
into
that
second
one.
place there with a
Yeah.
254.399.
But then he was probably watching where Jamie was going and got a little too hot, a little too late on the brakes, and he ended up out in the marbles. Yeah, so consistently, look at this shot, folks. Consistently, just about everybody is staying to the inside of that painted line and not cutting over the turtles. So I imagine the cars that we saw cutting over the turtles will get called in by one of the corner marshals, and they'll probably toss that lap because that would be an advantage, in my humble opinion. But I'm wearing a very comfortable shirt in a booth instead of an official shirt in the hot seat.
Well, John, and then that brings up the question, how many of these times that we're seeing in our qualifying sessions will be thrown out? Hopefully none.
Hopefully none. It's a good question. It's a very good question. Of course, they still have to go into the tech shed, but they probably won't do really invasive inspections right now because the big race is this afternoon, so I can't see them popping cylinder heads or.
Right.
But they will have to make weight. So it'd be a real bummer if you missed on the, gas weighs what, about 7 pounds per gallon? So let's say you missed the fuel load. We're out longer than you thought, and you miss it by 10 pounds. What a heartbreaker.
Yeah, that really could be a big upset in the end. But, these guys have done this before. They've run for at least one full season. They had to do that to get here.
Right.
So we'll go ahead and assume that they know how to fuel their cars properly, but
you never know.
You never do know. I mean, we did see a car go out and have his hood fly up in his face. So if you can't do the hood pins, then.
But I've had it happen to me. You're busy and you ask your buddy. You say, hey Fred, could you go over and throw 5 gallons in? And Fred doesn't notice that there's only 3 gallons in the can.
Right.
And you go out qualify and you come in 20 pounds light. And you go smack Fred upside the head. Fred.
Just cost me $100,000, Fred.
Yeah, Fred. Well, Fred, that means Fred rides home in the trunk. All right, 26 minutes left, so I imagine this will be the final time across the stripe for these guys. Boy, Jamie Close got down to a 252, 7.671. That's
almost on the mark there, 251.116.
That's competitive.
So 252.671, that would put him in 4th place in our previous session.
Dude.
So he is moving on up.
Well done.
Ben Rail and Michael Haddad also turning in some pretty fast laps here this last time by 253.
Mid-53s?
Yeah,
nice.
53.5 and 53.7.
All right, well, we'll be watching for that checker very soon. We're almost to the point where the checker came out last time, but we do know Jamie Close just went through. So next time by, he will probably get the checker unless they decide to checker midfield. So once again, this is the second qualifying session, the second of 2 groups for the Toyo Classic this afternoon. Oh, there's the checker. So they did it midfield. They didn't wait for Jamie to come around. But he's on a flyer, so he'll get credit for that last lap. So everybody gets a chance to fly around and get one last shot. So we'll see if at the last minute the times may change up and improve a little bit.
$33 cars on course for this session, John, so that means we've qualified a total of 76 this morning.
Whew.
So we're missing about 9 out there, but
okay.
Hey, 76 is still a massive
That's
grid.
a lot of cars. And as I understood it, I think the limit on track is 65 cars at one time. So that'll leave about, 12 drivers out in the cold?
Yeah, so we're going to qualify the top 65 and run them.
Yep, I believe that is the plan. We will verify that a little bit later with the race directors. Don't want to give you bad information, so I will track them down. Of course, they're not busy at all today. So, folks, we do have the end of this session now. We have what's called a course check, which gives us a chance to go over the course. Then we will have our time trial drivers. That's our time trials program, where you race against the clock. Very interesting program, very cool. Game of strategy. Now, this time trial is where the weather really comes out. We've had this happen in years past where rainy, one dry session, rainy. And so nobody comes out in the rainy sessions because they know they're not going to get any work done. But here, we don't know. We got 2 days of time trial competition, so if it were me, I'd go out, run hard in every session, see what happens. But it can be a real psychological game. In the past, we even had cars sitting, waiting in the garage, driver strapped in, engine warm, tires warm, waiting to see if someone else got a better time. Someone else gets a better time, bam, go.
Yep. Well, then there's the whole preservation aspect of it.
Exactly.
Is, you don't want to go out in a wet session and ruin your car and then end up having a dry session for the last one where you could have set your top time. So definitely a lot of strategy. A lot of strategy
Geez,
involved.
look what Jamie Close just did. 250. Top time. On his last lap.
Yep. That's just what Greg Porter did.
Good Lord.
Snuck
Well
in
done,
there.
young man.
clocking the top time of the day so far in
Wow.
Spec Miata.
Well done, sir.
250.746. That is impressive.
Well, that's pretty cool. He does have his brother on his mind today, racing in his honor. So that was the fire, the competitive fire in his belly that he needed. So it looks like everybody's come through. We will give you our top 10 qualifiers, of course. Jamie Close out there, 250.746. Then Jesse T. Singer, 252.241. Mike Travers, 252.487. Then Danny Suter, 252.638. Then Michael Haddad, 252.756. Vinny Barata, 253.002. Eric Nemnich, 253.037. Then Ben Rail, 253.752. James Holloway, 253.906. Then David L. Henderson Jr. is our 10th qualifier, 253.999.
Those are some tight times there,
Tight.
John.
Very tight.
Toit.
Toit, like a toy guy. Austin Powers, never mind. So, folks, that is the qualifying sessions for the Toyo Classic this afternoon. We will take a quick break. When we come back, we will be beginning the first session of our time trial program. Got to slow down, John. Time trial program. And then we will segue into racing for the rest of the day. We'll have qualifying races as well as time trial sessions. And don't forget that big Toyo Classic coming up this afternoon at 2:45 Central Time. Once again, we are at the 2018 NASA National Championships presented by Toyo Tires at the Circuit of the Americas. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. Please join us then.